Hello, this is the AVIT department, Westminster Computer Lab. Today we wanted to show you another graphic tool. It's not as complex as GIMP, but it is very easy to use, and to tell you the truth, it's very similar to Microsoft Paint program. In GIMP, you can do a lot of really cool graphic editing, but where it falls flat is in simple drawing capabilities. But this application called Color Paint, very much like Microsoft Paint, and very good for just doing very simple drawing of patterns. The way that you bring it up is you go to the main menu, you would select Graphics, and indeed select Color Paint with a K. When it launches, as you can see, it's very much like Microsoft Paint. You can change the size of the drawing area, and as you notice, there are certain areas on this application. There are menus, there are common buttons, there are objects that can be used for various painting, and down at the bottom, basically color selection. I'm just going to give the basic overview of some of these drawing tools. For example, one of the first ones I want to talk about is a line, so you can actually draw a line. If you notice below, these are just indicators of the thickness of the particular line that you want. And if you notice down below, these two colors here in the two boxes would indicate foreground color or lines, and background color. For example, if you were doing a rectangle, that would be the color that it would fill. But we are doing a line in this case. To do a line, you just simply click and drag, and here's a line. Just like in Microsoft Paint, if you hold down the Shift key while dragging, it makes a perfect straight or perfectly diagonal line, just as a matter of interest. On the other hand, if I wanted to, let's say, do a different color line, like a red one, then I would select the color. Now, selecting the color for the foreground color is left click, and selecting the color for the background color is right click. So if I left click, you'll notice that the foreground color is now red, and if I draw my line, you'll see it as a red line. If I want a thicker line, I can select the thicker line value, and here is my thicker line. On the other hand, I can select pencil. With pencil, you'll notice that there are no thickness options that are available, but it's really just there to be able to draw freehand. So therefore, if I want this to be in blue or mauve, then I just change the foreground color, and there you go. If I want to make changes, I can click onto the eraser. The eraser has different eraser sizes. For example, if this is too large, then I can select a slightly smaller eraser head. Just one suggestion or tip, you can always go into View and zoom in. And in that way, if you have a smaller eraser head, you can do more minute editing. And then when you're finished, zoom out again. Just sort of as an FYI. The paintbrush here is for actual painting itself, applying a brush. So if you notice the line is a little bit more thicker, it looks a little bit more like applying a brush. And there are different styles, like you can do interesting edges. So different features here for different purposes. I won't talk about fill in until I've created an object that actually fills in the particular object. Color eraser, it's kind of a unique feature. I don't know if Microsoft Paint has this, but it'll only erase the color that the foreground color is set to. So for example, it's erasing here, no problem. But if by mistake I go over here to a different color, it doesn't erase it. So this is probably for situations where you have lots of colors combined in. You don't want to muddle it up, and it allows you to selectively erase something without affecting the other colors. Spray can is just like spray paint, and you can select the different patterns for higher density. This is very much like in Microsoft Paint. There are different things like doing ovals or rectangles, rounded rectangles. These three buttons here indicate what you want. Here is no fill, so if let's say I set my left click to set my foreground color, and if I just click and drag, you'll notice that I'm creating a rounded rectangle without any fill colors. It's a pretty thick line here. Let me select a slightly thinner line. Do the same thing, and there we go. By holding on to the Shift key while dragging, makes a perfect square, rounded rectangle. On the other hand, if I click on here, it's no line, or it's a line color, but also a fill color. So for example, if I right click and set my fill color for sort of a turquoise, then if I click and drag, I have a black foreground or line, yet a turquoise background color. Square rectangle, same sort of idea. If I wanted, or like not a square rectangle, but a sharp rectangle, so an edge rectangle, as opposed to a rounded rectangle. Again, if I use the Shift key, then I have a perfect square. Very, very much like Microsoft Paint. Here's polygons, so I can click and drag and start to click to select my multi-sided object. Here would be a case then where I can go back to the paint and select and left click onto a color I want to use. So if I want to select a certain more of an orangish color and then click in, now I have the ability to make that change. Oval, same sort of idea. In this case I'm going to show the third option, which is filling with no outline. So if I select this, it's just going to color with the background color. Let's say I'm going to select my right click to select my background color to yellow. If I click and drag, it's picking up the foreground color as what it is to fill in. So it's more of an option with this actual feature. A little confusing, but after a while and you play around with it, you'll get the hang of it. A couple more things are to draw lines that have fairly irregular shapes. And a way to draw a line and then take control of it to bend it and to make changes however you want. So there are a tremendous amount of options here. Really the last thing that last few things I want to show is that you have a text feature, so you can add in text for labeling. For example, I can start typing in text here, and I can make changes to the size and the style of my font. For example, if I want more of a Comic Sans NS, and yes, there are Microsoft fonts on the system, so I'll say this is text. Or if I want to, I should be able to change the default color. Spell. You have the ability before you click outside of it to move it to where you want, and then click. And notice it is yellow in the background because that's what I set my background color to be. There are a couple of features where you can use a select tool. Select just highlights it, and you might have the ability then to move it wherever you want. Just be careful if you have the background color that it would remain. When it comes time to actually saving your work, you just go to File, Save, or Save As. And you have many different options here on which to save your image. Lots of different file types. I'll just say a PNG image, which is called Portable Network Graphic, which is very common to have in web pages. And I'll just say my image. This is the AVIT department, just wishing you happy volunteering and yet showing you another tool that you can use to help do graphics. Have a nice day.